I would like to thank Attila the Q for sending me this story, and it is coming out of Reisterstown, Maryland. That is nowhere near where I live, but I am familiar with the city. And this story right here pisses me off in a multitude of ways. One, because it's involving these kids that you see in this picture, and it also involves the pettiness of adults. So let me just give you a little summary of what's going on. The name of this team right here is a football team. They're called the Reisterstown Mustangs. And in their league, they are the only team that is undefeated. Like every other team has lost at least one game, and they are the only team that is undefeated. They have not lost one game this entire season. So that would mean that they are the number one team in their league. And that would definitely qualify them to go to the playoffs. Like they would be that top team that that team to beat. But there was an issue. And I think just by looking at the team and how the team is majority black, the coaching staff is majority black except for one guy, and then you have another woman there, and she's a part of it as well, and she's black as well. They, and by they, I'm talking about the organization who runs this league, banned the team from participating in the playoffs. Mind you, this is the team that's undefeated. They played all the games like every other team, and uh they banned them. All the other teams lost at least one game. The only reason I can really say that they banned them is because the team is majority black. I don't really need to hear anything else. But based on what was told to people, to reporters, it said that this team, and this doesn't surprise me, faced racial slurs throughout the entire season and nothing was done. This is another story that I've done so far in the last week or so where you've had black kids, black youth have to face adversity from either adults or their peers, and nothing was done except against the people that it was done to. Like that girl who was suspended who goes to that school in Wisconsin. Meanwhile, as I was reading through the article, this team had no behavioral problems from the players or the parents, but the other teams who had white players and white family members, they said constantly got into it with each other. They got into it with the referees, and nothing happened to them. No disciplinary actions were taken, but they took it out on them. And I'm reading on, and they kept talking about diversity, this diversity, that, or it was a lack of diversity and things of that nature. It all goes back to them because this team is a predominantly black team, and they did not want them to win. This story reminds me, and y'all may remember this story. This story reminds me of a story that came out a couple years ago, and I think it came out of Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of those Midwest cities where you had a predominantly black baseball team, and ironically, they named their team the Jackie Robinson. I forgot what their mascot was, but they named it after Jackie Robinson. It was a majority black little league team. They went all the way, played in the championship game, and won the championship. Then you had this grown ass white man who I guess was a coach for another team, come out and say that the team violated some rules. And we was like, what rules did they violate? Oh, because they picked players to be on their teams then when they weren't a part of the district that they were playing for. And what ended up happening? They ended up revoking the team's championship. They took the trophy and the title. But then some stuff that came out about the coach a little bit later, but they brushed that under the rug. He only did that because he was upset because this majority black team whooped his team's ass. That's the only reason he did that. If it had not gone down that way, he would not have said a thing. If his team had lost to that predominantly black team, he wouldn't have said nothing. Now that's a grown man messing with some little kids. Another reason why I feel nothing for them when shit happens to them. How can you be that petty for some kids? And the same thing is happening here. The only difference is they won't even be able to play. I'm gonna leave the article there so you can read it for yourself. Like, I was so disgusted by this. It's like, it's one thing when you have grown adults going at each other. But when you have grown adults going at some little kids for something that is out of their control, they can't help it that their team is talented. They can't help it that their coaching staff is better than yours. And they can't help it that the team is majority black. Maybe they did that because they didn't get on other teams because I don't know, maybe the other teams are majority white, but nobody's complaining about that. But when it's a majority black team, here they come. This is just like what was going on with our ancestors during segregation. When we was doing our own thing, those white individuals still had to find a way to cross over to our side of town and still mess with us. And this was before desegregation. Oh, don't get it twisted. Before integration happened, and as bad as it is now, we can see it. It was bad during segregation, too quiet as it's kept. Because they did everything they could to try to destroy whatever we had going on, too, because they wanted to have their cake and eat ours, too. We had crumbs. We can even have crumbs. They wanted every single slice of the pie they could get, all the way down to the damn butter that was on the pan. That's just the metaphor. But this is really messed up. Like this team worked hard, probably worked harder than anybody else, and had to endure so much. You heard they said they had to face racial slurs. They complained, but did nothing. They let it slide. But see, the thing is, they were hoping that those racial slurs was going to keep throw them off their game, but it didn't. And they were scared and they were fearful that this majority black team was going to go all the way and win that championship, and that could have been a historical win for that league, and they didn't want that. They can't tell me that racism wasn't involved here. And this is exactly why I don't like it when white people try to define racism when it comes to us. Sure, they implemented the structure of racism, but now they want to redefine it to their own tune, in which we call it out and then we're wrong if we do. Then they'll try to say it's reverse racism. That's why that girl got suspended, because she called it out when the people were calling her a racial slur, and they basically threw it back on her and suspended her. So what happens when they call out racism? Oh, we're going to ban them from playing in the playoffs and going to the championships where they most likely would have won. Or if they had kept going, they would have probably altered the rules and said, "Oh, this, that, and the third can't occur." They would try to do anything that they could to make this team lose, and it's messed up. It really is. Like I said, I hate when they have to do this against some kids. Like that's like a straight up bullying tactic, if you ask me. But that's fine. The best thing that they could probably do is maybe if they could distance themselves from them and create their own league. But I have a feeling that they'll come up with something else and block that too. Remember what I just told you about what they did during segregation. Like I said, before desegregation, they were doing stuff to try to block black people from doing stuff even when they were separated. They said they would basically implemented a thing where they stayed on their side, we stayed on our side. But remember, our side is also your side too. I mean, your side is also our side too. So even when we try to do our own thing, they'll still find a way to slither their way in like the snakes that they are and pull the rug from underneath us as well and continue going about their business and then claim nothing happened or cry no foul, no harm, no foul. This is why the world, for the most part at large, doesn't like them right now. Quiet as it's kept. Well, be not at this point, not even quiet, as loud as it is. But it's really messed up that these kids worked hard. And I can only imagine what the coaching staff had to tell those kids when they were getting prepared and probably getting excited to get ready to go play in the playoffs and tell them that they couldn't go. I can only imagine the look on their faces when they found that out, that they worked that hard and became the top team. They said, well, they became the top team, but we're not going to let them go any higher than that. See, it's like we can climb as high as we can in this society, but they'll always close that ceiling right up on us. Like for us, it's a cutoff point. We can't go any higher than what they allow us to go up. But they'll be the same ones to say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. If you work as hard as we do, or this, that, and the third, then maybe you can get to where we're at. But that's a myth. Because their intent was for us to never get to that point, ever. They don't want us even near, let alone beside. So they damn sure don't want us above. That's all I really have to say. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. The links will be in the description. I'll talk to you in the next one.